When then presidential candidate Joe Biden was running for office, he endorsed the idea of seating a black woman on the United States Supreme Court with great enthusiasm. With last week's announcement that Justice Stephen Breyer would step down from his position in June, it's good to know that Biden hasn't changed his tune. After more than 27 years on the Supreme Court, the liberal-leaning Breyer's retirement serves to open a new door of opportunities for a black woman to be his successor. Should this become a reality, it's said to be a historic milestone in American history. She Will Rise is an advocacy group that aims to ensure that a black woman gets seated to the Supreme Court. The group gets its name from poet Maya Angelou's classic, Still I Rise. For more on all of this, I welcome Kimberly Tignor, the co-founder of She Will Rise. Kimberly, welcome to Amplified. Good evening to you. Now, first, tell us a bit more about what your organization has done so far and how the news of Justice Breyer's retirement serves as an opportunity for your agenda.
That's right. So thanks so much for having me. She Will Rise is singularly focused on seating more women on the federal judiciary, more black women on the federal judiciary, including the Supreme Court. To that point, we knew that the moment that then President candidate Joe Biden, the second he made that promise to nominate the first black woman to the Supreme Court, we knew that this was an opportunity to educate and engage our communities on the importance of the Supreme Court. And I'm talking about connecting the day-to-day issues that are impacting our lives, from being able to walk safely down the street without having dangers put on our bodies, to being able to sleep in our beds without fear of having anyone come and shoot us, right? These are the issues that are actually being decided on the Supreme Court and impacting us on a day-to-day basis. And so when we saw the amazing slate of women that are being talked about as part of this nomination process, we knew that it was a moment to celebrate and look at not only are these women all eminently qualified, but they also bring in a historic amount of professional diversity, where we're getting to celebrate what it can be in different pipelines and different professional backgrounds that can bring us to the Supreme Court.
So tell me more about, in general, what qualities you'd like to see in the nation's first black female Supreme Court justice.
Listen, we're thinking about judicial acumen and judicial disposition. Those are front and center, and all of these women are eminently qualified and meet those requirements. But the other piece that is so important is that these women are going to bring their lived experiences, and not just their lived experiences, but the experiences of their communities around them. And I have to tell you, one thing that's been missing from this conversation is, why does that even matter? Why are we even paying attention to that? But what folks don't understand is that the Supreme Court is a decision-making, deliberating body, right? And so what that means is that on the day of oral arguments, we have our 9 justices before us. And what they do is that they listen to all of the questions, they listen to the arguments. They then retreat with their law clerks, fellow justices, back to their chambers. And what happens is a series of both formal and informal conversations where they're able to share, argue, debate, and discuss their own theories of the cases and opinions. And so what we want and what we would love to see is to ensure that with each opportunity we have to bring more diversity to the court, we are improving that deliberative body's ability to come out with just and fair outcomes. Because the studies are already there. We know that the more diverse a deliberating body is, the better the decision-making process and the outcomes will be. So here's an opportunity for us to stand together and further diversify that deliberating body.
Kimberly, let's talk about some of those names that are floating around in the media. There are 3 that seem to have stuck out most. Judge Ketanji Brown of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, who was on former President Barack Obama's Supreme Court shortlist in 2016. You have California Supreme Court Justice Leandra Kruger, a former Deputy Solicitor General, and Judge J. Michelle Childs of the U.S. District Court for the District of South Carolina, who's being championed by Representative Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, and nominated for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. So I'm interested in, you're following all of these picks, of course. What are your thoughts about them?
I think that they're all sensational candidates. And honestly, we are ready to stand behind and wrap ourselves around any last one of these women that should the president nominate one of them.
There's going to be a whole lot of rapping that needs to happen because some Republicans are already putting up a fight, right? Which is so hypocritical to me when you look back at history and remember that President Ronald Reagan made a historic choice to diversify the court when he nominated Justice Sandra Day O'Connor and was intentional about that. What's really the problem here when it comes to Biden's pick? Why are these lawmakers so against having a Supreme Court that looks more like the country that it represents?
And let's unpack that, right? Because it's not just Sandra Day O'Connor. President Trump indicated that he was going to nominate a woman to the bench. There we have Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Where was this outcry then? It didn't happen. And what this is, and let's just call it what this is, it is a racist dog whistle, right? And this is something that is unique in the way that they come for women of color nominees. And so it's critically important for us to pay attention to the fact that, Justice Sotomayor, she was eminently qualified at the time that she was nominated. And quite frankly, she could go toe to toe with any of the folks that were seated on that bench at the time of their nomination. You put their resumes side by side, she was right there with them, if not more qualified. Despite that, they instantly tried to say, one, she was unqualified, and two, that it was an affirmative action nominee. This is something that they've used in their playbooks time and time and time again.
Of course they have. This could still, though, be quite the fight, given that the Dems only have a razor-thin majority. I'm actually reminded of how hard the women's movement went to try to stop the appointments of Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, even dressing up in handmaiden costumes to make a point. Remember that whole scene? Will Black advocates go as hard to support Biden's pick? And what kinds of advocacy efforts or demonstrations would you actually like to see happen on the Hill?
Listen, when I think about some of the most moving demonstrations I've ever seen, I think about the nomination process of Attorney General Loretta Lynch. And when I saw those sisters in crimson red fill that confirmation room in support of that woman, who was, as Eric Holder said, she was more qualified than even he was for the position. And yet they did an unprecedented amount of delay for that nomination process. Our sisters showed up. They showed up all day, and they showed their support, and it was beautiful. And so that is what I stand ready and know what will happen once we get our nominee.
So all this being said, the court will still lean conservative. And I wonder, in what ways can we expect this nominee to perhaps reshape the court?
I think that it's two things when I think about that question. One is that I don't think we should ever underestimate the power of a dissent, the opportunity to put their opinions and their thoughts on the record. The other piece of that is that, again, this is a deliberative body. And there have been times in history, as they are deliberating amongst themselves, that on those 5-4 decisions, there have been justices that have changed their minds. So this, again, is an opportunity for us to bring our voice, the lived experiences of not just Black women, but the people in our community, the people who have wrapped around us in our journey to the Supreme Court. And so this is, again, an opportunity to ensure that that deliberative process is a better version of itself and a truer reflection of the country these justices are supposed to serve.
You make such a great point about how the dissents have meaning, and the narrative that's being put forth into the public sphere around these historic cases really does matter. One of the challenges I find is that not a lot of people hear them or know about them because they're certainly not mainstream news, what Justice Sotomayor may have written in dissent. So I wonder, after this new nominee is sworn in, what next steps are you expecting your organization to engage in? I saw that you have a petition right now trying to create a groundswell of the public to support this nominee. You also are out there with the hashtag, of course, She Will Rise, really trying to build that public support for her. Are you expecting to expand your platform in some way to be able to put a spotlight on the work that they're doing?
Aisha, thank you for this question because you're absolutely right. This is just the beginning. What we want to do is leverage the moment and the energy around this historic moment to engage folks not just on the Supreme Court, but on the importance of the entire federal judiciary. Currently, we have 120 vacancies on the court. And I want to flag for everyone Black women, we are the most engaged voting demographic, yet we are less than 2% on that federal judiciary. We have sisters that are right now pending, again, eminently qualified candidates on the district and circuit court level. We have to ensure that we, at the same time, are paying attention to what's happening at the Supreme Court, but that we keep on filling these vacancies in throughout the federal judiciary.
Awesome. Kimberly Tignor, co-founder of She Will Rise. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on Amplified and for the work that you are doing to get Black women put on that bench. I talk about this often, folks. Follow what's happening with the courts. Follow hashtag She Will Rise, and we'll come back to you and find out how it's going. Thank you.